Hey, this is Sky, and welcome to my YouTube channel. And today I'm going to talk about drugs, and I'm going to talk specifically about going sober and how it happened for me. I've been sober now since February 13th, 2000. So that's 19 years, almost 20 coming up. I've never relapsed. I have stayed strong and had, a day-to-day struggle like any other recovering addict, but I've never gone back, and I know a lot of addicts do. I've seen it over and over. They stay sober for a year, maybe two if they're lucky, and then they're right back where they used to be. Many people go, they even sink further than they started. Not me. Another side note is I never did any 12-step process. I did try that stuff in the beginning, and I know for many people that works. For me, it didn't. Honestly, in my personal opinion, I thought AA, NA, all that shit was a total fucking joke. The people were fucking idiots. I thought it was a complete waste of time. I thought that shit was a cult. I thought it was a crutch. These motherfuckers go out there and they smoke tons of cigarettes. They smoke fucking 30 cigarettes in the break, drink 5, 10 cups of coffee, sit there and tell war stories about how fucked up they were, how much dick they used to suck for crack. And, fuck that scene, man. And when I used to sell a lot of dope, the fucking people that lived at the AA house, the recovery house, they were my best fucking customers. So when I went sober, I was very skeptical about that scene. It was just like, now I tried it. I could make another video just on the one meeting I went to up in Hollywood, which was hilarious, full of celebrities. It was a weird fucking meeting. I'm sure it was nothing like any AA or NA meeting that anybody out there's ever fucking been to, unless you go to the Hollywood one. And that's a weird scene, man. But anyways, how did I do it? Well, I didn't want to go sober. I didn't hit rock bottom in my mind. Maybe I did on the outside from other people's perspective. But in my own head, I felt like I was maintaining. I felt like I was still able to do my thing. I felt like even if I did tons of drugs, drank like a fish 24/7, I mean, I'm talking a case of beer a day, followed by big jugs of wine every night, tons of cocaine, PCP, you name it, whatever. I sold it. I did it. I was involved in that world. I was like Michael Jordan with drugs, where other motherfuckers would fall out and be like, I can't take no more. Not me. I'd do that shit all night and to the next day and the next day. I don't give a fuck what you got. Pills, meth, coke. I'll do it all, motherfucker. You didn't bring enough, I'm sure. And it was like, you do what you're good at. People naturally gravitate towards what they're good at. And I was always good at getting high. That was like my skill in life. Well, why did I stop? And I didn't want to. I wasn't even thinking about it. I was on vacation, and I was really lucky to get a chance in 1999 to go to Egypt for the Millennium Party at the Pyramids. And that was an expensive fucking vacation. Shit cost 15 grand. Now, I didn't go over there cheap. I went over there in style. When I was in Israel, I stayed at the King David Hotel. When I was in Egypt, I stayed at the Mena House Oberoi, literally right across the street from the fucking pyramids. Open up my balcony shades. The goddamn main pyramid is right fucking there. If you ever go to Egypt, spend the money, do it the right way. Don't do no cheap fucking vacation if you're going that far. And I stayed for 6 weeks, which is a long time to be gone, man. And when I was over there, I guess I didn't take the advice very well, but they tell you don't drink water, don't even have ice cubes, don't eat any fruit that you can't peel. Like you could have an orange because nobody can get to the inside, right? But you're going to a third world area compared to what I'm used to, compared to what it is in California, and I got sick right away. I got sick on the fucking plane ride over. I was sick for the whole trip, almost ruined my trip. I should make a separate video about that trip because that trip was life transforming trip. Not just because it led me to where I'm going to talk about today with going sober, but I had a separate kind of existential experience during all this, which was really fucking heavy duty and I'll never forget. But I don't want to go into that now. I want to stick with talking about sobriety and talking about how it happened to me, how I went sober. And I say happened to me because it kind of felt like I was thrust into it. It didn't feel like a life choice. I wasn't like your classical drug addict where I had an intervention and I said, I'm going to do the right thing now and I'm going to stop being a fuck up. Nah, man. I mean, I guess I sort of had that moment, but it wasn't like the normal thing. So I got sick as fuck in the Middle East. Sick, sick, sick. Puking, symptoms where it seemed like food poisoning. It seemed like it could have been leftover air sickness. It could have been a virus. Could have been fucking West Nile. I don't know what the hell it was. It was killing me. I was about, I don't know, 3 weeks in, still sick as a dog, not eating, could barely drink water, could barely swallow anything. All I could do is melt ice cubes in my mouth. I lived in the bathroom on the floor, naked, puking, sweating. That was my life. Anybody came to the knock to the door, I would just yell, "Go away!" It was miserable. I missed out on a lot of shit when I was over there by doing that. Long story short, let's get over the Middle East vacation. I could talk about that vacation and all the stuff that happened to me for a long time. But when I get back to the East Coast, I was with my family and they were like, "Man, you got really sick over there. You should go to the doctor." So I went to the doctor over there and that's where I had my first liver function test. And the numbers were whacked. They were just like, "Oh shit, your liver is fucked, kid." So I got back to LA. I went to Cedars-Sinai. My doctor said, "We're going to put you through a bunch of tests." They did every fucking test in the world. AIDS tests, hepatitis tests, and the liver test. And turns out, and they did one of those, I guess it's an ultrasound they do with pregnant ladies with the fucking paddle and the little TV. And they showed me a picture of my liver. My liver was black and it was swollen to the size of a 400-pound man, and I have a thin frame. And the doctors turned to me and they said, "Okay, you're either a heroin junkie or you're an alcoholic. Which is it?" And I said, "Look, I don't really fuck with heroin, but I do drink like a fish. I run alcohol through me all day, every day. That's definitely my thing." And the doctor looked at me straight up and he said, "Well, guess what, kid? The party's over." I'll never forget those words. This is exactly what he said to me. And I guess the gravity of it didn't really hit me until I walked out. But I asked him kind of, well, surprised, well, what do I do now? And he said, "Well, you're going to stop drinking. You're going to stop doing drugs. You're going to stop with all that kind of lifestyle. And you're going to go down your next visit is going to be to put yourself on a waiting list for a liver transplant. You could die off this, kid." And this is how they came at me. And I was just like, wow. And I had been sick, and it was a type of sickness I'd never been before. This was no flu or nothing, man. This was fucking scary, and I was thin. My legs were as fucking thin as my wrists. I was looking horrible, and that I went home. I did some serious soul searching, and I really had always told myself, as I was going through my drug experience, that there's 3 things you need to watch when you're spiraling out of control. And these 3 things, if you touch on any one of them, it's a good time to start checking yourself. And I had always maintained what I thought all 3. It turns out I was only maintaining the 2. The first one for me was, if I couldn't maintain relationships as I'm doing drugs, as I'm being a drug addict and an alcoholic and just getting fucked up all the time, if I can't have a girlfriend and have friends, you got to check yourself. You got to slow down or stop something, And that never really happened to me. I always had tons of friends, tons and tons and tons of friends. I was never like all alone. Always had girlfriends. Girls always liked me. So that was never really an issue. I could be the most fucked up drug addict guy ever, still have a fine girlfriend, still have tons of friends all over town. The next one that I had always told myself about, that if you fall into this, you need to check yourself, you need to slow down, you need to figure out what's going on, is if you go broke, you're homeless off of drugs. I did go homeless once in my life. It wasn't because of drug addiction or drug use. It was probably mental addiction, mental illness, honestly, because I went homeless kind of because I wanted to. It wasn't because I didn't have the funds. I was slinging dope, making tons of money when I was homeless on certain occasions, and I'd stay homeless. I wouldn't go rent an apartment. So it was something else going on there. And I always told myself, if you go broke because you're doing too much dope, you're whatever, you need to check yourself. And that never happened to me. I'd always had an apartment. You know, I'd always been able to, if I went really broke, couldn't eat, man, I could hustle. I've always been a hustler. I've always had an idea. I'm always the man with the plan. You ask people that know me, I'm starting businesses all the time. I always got an idea. So that was never it. And the third one, which I had kind of taken for granted, never even considered, was my health. And I had told myself, hey, if I ever become unhealthy, I can't function. I'm too fucked up with a medical problem. I can't walk. I can't breathe. I can't be a strong guy. I like being strong. I've always been on the streets and been in fights and been a tough guy. And if I can't rep myself as being a strong, tough guy, then and I turn into a weak little punk bitch or something where people can push around, walk all over, and it's all because I'm just some fucking dope head, some base head. No, that ain't gonna happen to me, motherfucker. I gotta make sure that doesn't happen. Well, who knew that third one would be what fucking happened to me was my health, was my liver. So I stopped February 13th, 2000. I said, that's it. No fucking more. Not a single more drink, no more cocaine, no more PCP, no more hard chemical drugs, nothing. I went sober. And it was the most shocking thing for anybody around me. I tell you, I had friends of mine that lived up in Hollywood that I used to party with all the time, a group of friends. I had known these guys for 7 or 8 years. They say get rid of your friends in AA. Trust me, these motherfuckers will get rid of you. Find out when you're doing drugs that the people that you thought that were your homeboys, that were your friends, are nothing but dope partners. People that you get high with, that you only have something in common with because you get high with them. There's nothing else there. You guys don't know anything about each other. There's no actual real connection or friendship. These are just party friends that you know, and that's what every motherfucker I knew turned out to be. I didn't have any I had one real friend, my homeboy Jason, that I still know. We run businesses together. Anybody who knows me knows Jason. We're ride or die for the rest of our lives. We've been down since we were little children. Nothing's going to separate that. But all my other friends, all of them, I had these fucking homeboys. They told me, it's right to my face. I found out these guys I went up to go hang out like I normally did. People had found out that I was sober. They had all been going to parties, and we're talking about this cool party that they went to, and I was kind of jealous and put off. You know, I was like, well, where was I? And I'm in a group of my friends, and I asked them, well, why didn't you guys invite me? You know, kind of humbly. And I expected them to be like, well, we forgot, or just some bullshit excuse like normal, right? Well, we didn't know we were going to the party or whatever. Nah, the guy turns to me and says, you're dead to us now. And it was because I wasn't partying no more. I was no longer cool. And I was like, wow, man. I mean, and that hurt. And it still kind of hurts. I don't know those guys no more. I wouldn't do that to nobody. And I don't blame them because this was just the relationship and I didn't understand it. I was naive. I didn't realize that the people on the streets that you do drugs with are not your real friends. They're not your fucking homeboys. They're just looking to get high off you, or drunk off you. I'm always buying beer. I look back on my career with hanging out with homeboys and all that. I don't remember anybody else buying beer ever. Honestly. Sky always bought the fucking beer. I'm buying 2 18-packs. Hey guys, I don't ever remember somebody coming over to my place with beer. You know, that kind of thing. And when I stopped drinking, nobody's coming around no more. You know, and that hurt. So I was left with really no friends. And I didn't give a fuck. I said, you know what? And I told myself, this is going to be the hardest thing you ever do in your fucking life. But this is your health. You've reached that third fucking criteria of your health, and you got to stick true because you can't end up some fucking punk. You can't end up some weak motherfucker in a wheelchair or dead because of your own stupid decision. You did this to yourself. It's not like I got hit by a car or some kind of genetic fucking mutation that I can blame my mom or dad for and say, damn you, why did you do this to me? These bad genes. No, I did this to myself. I felt so weak at that moment that I actually gave myself a liver problem. It was, so this is how I started. Now, I chose to go sober in one day, in a flash of a moment, after some soul searching. February 13th, 2000 is my sober date, and I've never gone back since. But I didn't do it alone. I was seeing a therapist regularly for PTSD, and I revealed to my therapist, who had no idea, because I was hiding my addiction so successfully, that I was a drug addict and an alcoholic. And that became our new focus. And he had gone through heavy drug addiction and alcoholism himself, and knew framework and process for helping people with such problems. So I was already in the perfect hands. I was lucky. and I was going to therapy once a week. He put me on program and gave me handouts and to read. I have an entire file cabinet full of these goddamn things. I still have them 20 years later, and I still read these fucking things. It's still helpful. And I also used my own knowledge that I was gaining, and I'm a firm believer that you can't just be told what to do all the time and say, yes sir, I'll follow your orders. You have to learn in life on your own, and that's the most powerful learning. So I started reading about addiction, reading about how to help myself, getting really into the core aspects of what's driving me to this choice. Why am I like this? And I was able to start tackling some serious, like, soul-searching kind of issues. And I transformed myself. I really became a different person. And maybe some of my friends from up in Hollywood who wanted that old guy, they were kind of bummed to see this new person emerge. But hey, I'm really proud of who I've become. And since I've been sober, I went and got myself a college degree on my own. I would never have been able to do this before. I went to UCLA. I took classes at USC. I went to the best community college in Santa Monica. I had a really good educational career. As a returning older student, I started a business, and that business I still own today, to this very day, a motorcycle shop, Sinister City Motorcycles. And I've done a lot of other things that I never would have been able to do if I was still fucked up. If I was still fucked up, I'd be dead. I wouldn't be here right now. And at the very least, I'd be some fucked up piece of shit motherfucker, homeless on the streets of LA, doing fucked up shit, causing problems. Instead, I'm incredibly successful, and it's changed my life. It also changed my outlook on crime. I had been kind of criminal-minded. I've always been criminal-minded. When I was 10 years old, I was running with gangs. When I was 11 years old, I was sophisticated criminal already. It's just been the way I have thought. My father was like this. My friends were like this. I was raised this way, and I liked it. And I'm not blaming anybody. I liked being that way. When I went sober, something changed. The need to be a good person, the need to understand how to help others, how to be a part of other people's lives, how to be less narcissistic, less self-centered, less into my own happiness, to be able to endure struggle, to not run from fear. There's a lot of very complex issues that were driving me towards getting high all the time. I was able to confront all of these things head on and overcome them being sober, and it's made me who I am today. So if there's any lesson I can give anybody out there from this video, and I don't make these videos to teach anybody anything, but it's always good to learn from something that you're talking about, is if you're going through addiction, sober up. Give yourself a reason to live. I give myself reasons to live every single day. I have a choice every single day to go back to where I was. Just because I'm 19 years into this, on this path of sobriety, doesn't mean it's any easier really for me than it was when I was beginning. I just know I have the tools and the tips and the tricks now to fight this battle. I'm like an elite soldier in this battle. Whereas when I started, maybe I was just an idiot, grunt. Now I know exactly how to fight this. And I still get intense cravings. I'm sorry to tell you this. For anybody out there who thinks it goes away, you get used to it. It's like being in a hot tub. You go in when the water's too hot and you're like, ow, ow, you're trying to get in. It's really, really hot. In 5 minutes, you're in there up to your neck and it's no big deal. The water didn't get cooler. That water's still the same fucking temperature. You could be in there turning it up. You just got used to it. So that's kind of the way being sober is. You get used to it. And it's like you build up the strength and the ability to do it every day. Every day I want to drink. Every day I want to do cocaine. Every day I want to get high. Right now I want to do it. Right this second. I'd love to be making this video fucked up as shit. That'd be great. But I don't. And I resist. And I give myself reasons to live. And I remind myself of what I've been through and the success and the progress that I've made in life. And how I would never been able to do that if I was still where I was. This choice I've made is the best choice that I could have ever made for myself, and I would like to see you make that for yourself. So this video is probably the longest one I've made, but it's the most important one. Thanks for watching. Stay cool, stay sober, give yourself a reason to live. I'm out.